Yeah. Got it.
I'll send them.
We're not muted, are we? Nope, we're good.
All right,
Am I up there? No.
No,
Well, I'm trying to get to the link that's on the website. Yeah, the meeting agenda.
That's your name.
anything?
You missed my part. A lot. He's right.
Running real late.
Okay. I'm trying to get Frank Weaver on. Frank, try it again from.
there you go.
You're in, Eric.
You're in.
Yeah, nothing sounds like from the email that I sent.
That's
See, please. People keep throwing baseballs at my players.
April 27th.
I heard it was a problem with the baseballs.
Okay.
But they only hit bats, I don't know why.
Paying our players.
Somebody actually brought that up on the radio. They know that the balls are not yet, you know, whatever, and
Like the Mets.
people can't control. And the guy was like, yeah, how come Larry hit the bats?
Fastball.
It's a good point, you know.
Starting
Larry,
off like 1986 all over again.
Yeah, he didn't.
Who's
want to last
easy?
night. He didn't charge
Think
the
he
man.
might be able to-
Keep saying that out loud.
All righty, let's start this. I believe Mr. Johnson is running a little late. So, let's start with Sarah Lane.
Okay.
As you know, there was a fire there.
Okay, waiting, Frank is waiting for the whole.
Thank you about that. Now we can.
98 Sarah Lane, there was a fire there
Okay, I see you.
back in, last year sometime. And, apparently last year, there was, something sent to the board regarding asbestos and something like that. And then we got something from one of the, some gentleman who lived in the building, wanted to go with the update. So we brought Frank, he's on the phone to give us an update of what's going on.
So this, let me just recap on that. This was a fire that happened to a house in Carroll Lane. Unfortunately, when it happened, this, if you remember, the resident didn't have insurance and she didn't have the money to repair it. And she basically walked away from it. And there's no bank.
went down to Florida, and there's no bank. No remittance.
There's no bank,
There's no lenders.
but sure, she owned the house straight out. I'm assuming.
That's it. Yeah. Like, no way.
I forget where we wound up with.
Well, we were supposed to look into it, and this is why Frank's on, because he had sent back in December, he sent Frank Donzo email asking about the asbestos removal. So that's why he's on here, because we need to make a decision on spending the money for removal of the asbestos and then hopefully taking the building down. It's unsafe, it's, you know, it's attached to another house. And so the residents are really concerned now that we're coming into the summer months, the kids playing and everything else.
What about insurance?
Well,
I believe it's no insurance on the house, because there was no lender. I go back and look, but
There was no.
I didn't think there was, basically our problem. Yeah. So,
So once it gets fixed, I mean, we're gonna take it down. Who owns the property?
well, what's the other question is, anyone paying taxes are paid.
Right.
So I guess the county should have a lien on it, right? So go up for sale based on that and.
Yeah,
But
at this point, the town's obligation is to secure the place to the best of, so it's not a safety hazard, whether it's an eyesore or not is one thing. If there's imminent danger of collapse, the town has to take care of that. We need to figure out what the story is with the taxes, if anyone's paying them, if someone's walked away with them altogether. And because right now, we don't automatically have the right to go in there and remediate anything because we don't own the property.
Well,
We have to
Then
secure
we
it.
have, to secure it, and we have this over on, where was it, Shuck Road, not Shuck Road, behind Rickles, behind Frankel's,
Sheffield.
Sheffield
Oh,
Drive.
yeah,
We had similar thing where we eventually,
We own the Sheffield.
we had to take ownership on it and then we sold it.
that was a long time.
That's
The
a-
thing- My concern is us spending this money to go and to do this, but, what recourse do we have? Can we, by law legally, can we go in there?
Yes.
And who do we
It's our
charge?
obligation.
Well, wait, we have an obligation to secure the property to make sure it's not a danger to other properties. Whether we can go in there and start remediating asbestos and doing demolition, only if the demolition is necessary to secure the property from damaging other property.
And well, if it's still under the homeowner's name and they would be paying taxes or being billed for taxes, would we be able to recoup that by putting that on their tax bill?
Yeah, we would attempt to remediate taxes.
Go ahead, Frank.
Frank,
I think you can add to this, but I will tell you this, if you haven't seen the house, it's a danger to the immediate neighbors, it's a danger to the area. It's basically being held up in sticks and fragile sticks at that. If we send our guys in there, they're in danger. I mean, we have a responsibility here, but go ahead, Frank.
You're muted,
You're
Frank.
muted, Frank.
Go ahead.
Okay, sorry about that. The condition it is in now, yes, I agree, it's a dangerous situation. It's an unsafe structure. It really needs to come down, but you just can't go in there and take it down. You have to treat it like it is contaminated with asbestos. So it has to be removed by an asbestos remediation company and handled as such. That's the tricky part. I know it was a little muffled, but there's an ownership issue that, we have to resolve. Well, a while back, there was an email that we should be doing some kind of search, title and lien search to get past that. But so the last email I sent, which I resent, was this asbestos remediation company monitoring the asbestos, monitoring the way it's handled. It has a figure on there. This is all under recommendation from the town engineer, MHE. MHE was, Mr. Dendanto signed an agreement for MHE to design the plans for shoring and bracing.
Yep.
Excluding the asbestos component of this project. So that's where we are.
Has it been put out to bid yet?
No, it hasn't been put out to bid. I think we have to get through this asbestos part.
We don't necessarily have to bid this if it's deemed an unsafe structure and it's in a situation where one can call it an emergency, we don't have to bid.
So Frank, why do we have to, because when these homes were built, I don't think that asbestos was an issue. Why do we have to treat it as?
Well, it's a good question, Eric. I'm just going off of an email from MHE. It's really their recommendation. Maybe it's something we could look into a little further. you know, the asbestos law is for construction prior to a date in 1974, and I don't know the exact date. I mean, if we want to just look at those facts, maybe we could get around the recommendation, but I would tread very cautiously with that.
We don't
Weren't
wanna-
those built in the eighties?
Sorry?
Oh,
No.
they were built before that.
Oh,
They were one of the
before,
first
this
ones
is
built.
before.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Bill, oh,
Hello?
Hi, Eric.
Listen, I got a little experience with the asbestos stuff. I did that in college. And if those were built in the eighties, they were definitely didn't have any asbestos in them. If you look back even in prior to 74, asbestos was used, well, in the 60s, they used it in the transite siding that's on the outside of buildings, but that doesn't apply to this. Like that's your smaller like homes. And then it would be on the heating pipes for the hot water, which mainly used to be for steam. So I can't think that this has any of that in there. You can get a company to go in and do an inspection. They can do air testing, but there's really nothing left to test. So normally when you're testing for asbestos, you would set up air pumps. You would pull a volume of air through a specific size filter for a set period of time, and then you would analyze it under a microscope and count how many fibers of asbestos you would locate. And you would do this to determine if there was asbestos present. And I'm telling you, I'm not going to say that there isn't any, but the likelihood that there is pretty small. So, I mean, weren't these built in the 80s?
No, this was built before.
78.
78.
According
78.
to one of the real estate sites I'm on, I don't know how.
All right,
accurate
so 78, but even in 78, they weren't using asbestos, in structure. And I mean, honestly, because this is attached to other houses, if you wanted to find out if there was asbestos, if you could, get permission to look in someone else's house, you would see how this was built, in an adjoining unit and see that there isn't any. So I'm just saying, I guess there's a couple of options we should look at first before we go ahead and treat it as if all the waste is contaminated with asbestos, because that would get pretty pricey to dispose of.
are we concerned the structure or are we concerned about the ISO? That's the question.
Well,
Well, it goes hand in hand,
Yeah.
right?
we're concerned about both, but we're obligated to deal with the safety issue.
Right.
Correct.
The question is, if we go in there and take it down, are we doing it or are we gonna hire someone?
We would hire someone.
So what are the steps that we need to take? What's the first step that we need to take here, Frank? Or Will?
Well, we've got to. I've got to see if we have the judgment of the ownership and lien search, which I can do this week. And I do not believe there's a lender on this. I don't believe there was any insurance. But we started to look at that. But we'll find that out. And I don't know what MHE, Frank, where did MHE leave off on this? I know
Well-
the board authorized the supervisor at the time to have MHE do their work.
Yeah, MHE was going to draw up some plans, basically shoring and bracing plans, to prepare plans to go out to bid and for the building department to issue a permit. And then there was one bullet point, going back to this asbestos possible concern. That's, depending on which way we go with the asbestos will determine really the approach here. If, the Department of Labor law has that asbestos law, I'm just gonna say January 1st, 1974, anything prior, you have to do an asbestos test, but when the home or the structure is unsafe to do a test, in this case, that's what it is, you have to assume there is asbestos. I know, Eric, the date is probably after 1974, but I'm going with MHE's recommendation, and that's where we are.
Do we have a proposal? Did you have a proposal for the asbestos?
This is what happens.
Yeah, that's the email I sent just the other day. I originally sent it in December. Yeah,
It wasn't attached. The proposal was not attached.
Well,
was not attached?
They go in there, they do something, and it comes out.
So it was, Louisa just pulled it up, it was built in 1979. Frank.
Okay, okay. So maybe this is a moot point then. So,
But him, correct me if I'm wrong, he said that if we can't do the tests, then we have to assume that there is.
Based
Well,
on the year the structure was built,
Right.
but it was built in 1979. So what Frank said, it may not, because of that, it may not matter, Frank?
well, according to the law as it's written, if it's 1979 and we're gonna assume that's the case, then it's a moot point.
So we don't have to go in there and do asbestos?
That's correct. That's correct.
So let's do what we gotta do to,
We need to double check that. We need to confirm, Frank, these facts, and we still need to have MHE opine that we don't need to do the asbestos remediation or inspection.
Right.
Meantime, I'll do the title work.
Do we have an estimate for bracing? this
No.
structure?
The document that was created and signed off on does not have any numbers, any figures. But it does have a scope of work. We have to double back and talk to MHE, see where we are.
is this proposal from Quest,
Right.
do you have that proposal? Cause have you seen that proposal?
That's the asbestos component of it. So once we check all our facts and we come to terms that there is no asbestos, we don't really have to deal with this Quest proposal.
So it's 98, back in, we actually spoke about this back in June of 2021. The property was totaled by the fire. The building is connected, the owner had no insurance, the demo would be re-levied. And according to section town code 122-9, to direct the building inspector to create and prepare proposal for demo of 98 Sarah Lane. So that is the law that gives us the ability to.
Oh, yeah, we can do it. And that's fine. Just, MHE did a thing, we didn't approach any contractors yet. If the board tonight can just authorize me to expend up to $250 for a owner and lien search with the title company, someone could make that motion too.
I make a motion for Will, spend $250 to do a title search on 98 Sarah Lane.
I'll second that.
Title and lien.
Title $250.
$50.
Yeah, usually just for
Spending money.
that search, Hillendale doesn't charge up to more than $250, so.
And Frank, can you get,
Can you vote on that?
Aye.
All in favor?
Everybody in favor?
Johnson?
Okay,
Johnson?
thank you. I'll do that.
Yes,
Frank,
I'll do that tomorrow.
can you get a price from MSG?
Yes. I will, I'll reach out to them tomorrow.
They gave
hold
us-
on. Time out. I think since it's sat this long without the shoring, we should just move forward with the demo. You know, what is the point of shoring it at this point if we could have it demoed in 3 weeks?
Well, no, Eric, the shoring and bracing, there's a common firewall there, which may or
So the
may not be compromised.
That was the part of the conversation.
So is the shoring and bracing to keep the firewall intact during
Yes.
demo? Is that, okay,
Yes.
got it.
And once so let me get this straight. So now we're gonna do the title lien search.
Just to see if there's a bank
It's into
involved.
the bank involved. He's gonna work, Frank is gonna work on getting the numbers for the structure,
Shoring it up.
showing it up. Then once that all set, then we can do what we gotta
We
do.
have to give notice to the property owner
Right,
that we are intending to do it. And if they don't do it within a certain period of time on the code, we're gonna do it and revamp.
we're looking at about, how much time do we have to give that?
Less than 30 days. No, but the notice itself.
All right, so that's done.
We
Move
don't even
on.
know if she's around.
Okay, everybody got a chance to got the warrants. I make a motion to approve the warrants. Mark?
Mr. Boyd,
Yes.
Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Mr. Meyer,
I abstain.
Mr. Johnson, vote remote.
Yes,
Council Sherman.
Yes. Okay, couple of things that came in late, topics that I had. We'll get a chance to make everybody's copies. I'm sorry about that. but This came from here. This is a resident, who wrote an email. And wrote a letter submitting regarding her water bill. So, I had Randy call her the water bill for the last couple of quarters. This, the woman has never had a water bill more than $25. $32. Now she gets a water bill for $137. And she sends this letter. My name is Anna Alexandro. Received a water bill for $137.19, which is unheard of. Water bill for $30 for 15 years. This is 28 Blackstone Court. Fixed income, she's 83 years old. Apparently, her boiler leaked. She's trying to get help from us.
Well, the boiler, they pay for the water and we mitigate whatever the sewer. The program sewer. So we can waive the sewer fee. However, she has to pay for the water.
Give her a payment plan for the water.
If you want to give her a payment plan for the water.
The water is 6660, sewer is 7119. So what you're saying is we could waive the sewer
Not all, I mean, just whatever the equivalent
off
of
her pass.
whatever the past, so
Yeah.
she's.
$10.
So there's 10, right, so whatever the difference is between what you, so $60. And then, so we waive the $60 for the sewer, and then if you want to do a payment plan.
$66.
whatever the water fee.
Yeah, because the boiler apparently was fixed, she had to pay for that, so, do I have to make a motion on this?
Yes.
Make a motion to adjust her sewer bill. It's 28 Black Stanley Court. And to provide a payment plan for the 6660 that she owns for the water.
If requested, if needed, you can waive her. She may.
Second. I'll second that. Wait, I'll second.
Waive the access to the- and is that over?
The sewer charge,
Sewer charge.
not wait, it's gonna be
Actually, it's behind.
prorated for
No,
her
it's
average, so it'll be about $10, $11. I'll have Brad get the average. Second by who? Me.
Mr. Boyd,
Yes.
Mr. Valentin.
Yes.
Mr. Meyer.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Eric?
Who's next?
Mr. Sherman.
Yes. Two things I just want to say. Vending machines are fixed. So we're working on,
I was him saying that.
okay. Vending machine are fixed and we have a list of them. Just want to let everybody know. Cameras, patio are really close. If we have a nice day, the next 2 or 3 days, the cameras will be up and running. Going back past 4 days, we're extremely spent up there. Trying to get this fixed. So for the TV today, cameras are coming. 7. I have nothing more topics.
Before we do the resolution, I got a request from Mr. Costa. He's got 2 pending matters before the town board that he would just like to advance. The first, he spoke to the board about both of these, I believe. One of them. He came in and asked for rec fee reduction on the Silver Lake Ridge developers. He understands that the board is not inclined to do any type of discount or reduction on those fees, which is what was conveyed to him at that meeting. But what he did ask for, and it's still an open issue, is the developer's request to waive the lighting in the drainage district formation requirement, because it's 120 something apartment, single owner situation, so there's really, it's gonna be one bill.
Right, there was no reason to have a light.
Yeah, so he's looking for an answer on that. Number one, and number two, the other client has, when I met with him, the guy over by, on 17M with the batting cages. He would like to come in with his client and make a presentation to the board at the at a work session. He's requesting May 11th. Remember, they want to do the soccer venue back there. No, he's dropping. They just want to do the soccer venue, but there would still need to be a change in the code to make that athletic field a permitted use back there. For him to have that. So he was asking to come in on May 11th, talk to the board about it, bring a drawing and so on. They dropped the whole catering restaurant thing. So is that okay?
May 11th,
Or a different thing? Whatever.
I'm going with it. Okay? I'm going with it.
Yeah. So from the first week.
Are we going to decide this now or?
Like this district, I'm okay with leaving the light.
Does he
One,
understand?
it's one bill.
The road, we don't want the road.
What's that?
We don't want the road.
Yeah.
He understands that. Okay.
I mean, I'm fine with waiving the lighting district. It's one bill. I mean, I don't think there's a need to do an entire lighting district. Yeah, but. Yeah, but if we don't have the district, what difference does it make to him whether it's the lighting district or in the sewer district? It makes no difference. What's the negative and the positive? I don't think there's a negative or positive. I don't think it's either way. I mean, it's whether we decide that we want it or don't want it. If we don't, it makes a difference. The only difference I see is that if we don't create the lighting district, then we won't be billing him specifically. He'll fall into those areas that have never created a lighting district, and he'll fall into that the town is paying for it. No, he pays for it.
No, they pay for it.
It goes through their electric bill. So, and then he's gonna bill his tenants.
Yeah. Correct.
What's
And
the
they
purpose
get,
of having?
So then, yeah.
There's no purpose to having, that's
How about
right, that's not
drainage?
having, wait.
the drainage, the purpose of having drainage, if there were capital improvements that has to be done in necessity for the money of the unit owner. There's only one owner of this building.
Varsity lose as bad as you guys did. 15-5. That's what yours was.
So what you're saying is that there's only gonna be one bill.
The little seventh grader's pretty good.
The people are not,
What's her name? So
Eric.
Eric,
Mute yourself, Eric.
like Shrek.
Eric, mute yourself.
so. So what you're saying is that you're gonna have 120 apartments. They are not, each
1 meter.
apartment, 1 meter for the whole place.
It's one owner, it's rental, so it's all being rented, so it's one building, so.
Doesn't people have an orange and Rockland bill? Or whatever,
He will pay that, but he'll pass the cost off, I guess. Right. So
Right.
it's included in their rent, so to speak.
Right,
Right,
yeah.
in other words, it'll be rent, everything's included in the rent, and then.
How many
I'll
buildings?
tell you what, why don't we get Lou's input on this?
Yeah,
Lou?
I don't know if he's on.
No, he's not on.
I can talk to Lou and get some more.
Yeah.
There's gotta be
I
more than
need- I
one
need- I
building,
need
right?
more, I mean, I understand. And I just don't see how,
It's common ownership. The point is, whether or not we need a district for combo.
Okay, what, if we say no, and he has to do it, what happens then? I mean.
We just gotta go through the motions of doing a petition, map plan and report. The town board has to have a public hearing, and it's another district that goes on to the town's inventory that we have to be accountable for.
Now, aren't they,
Lighting entry.
isn't there property behind that that is potentially
Yes,
gonna be developed?
and this property.
There is.
There is, but we don't know, it's not, nothing's there yet.
Okay, so let's put ourselves there at the time
You could create a lighting district at that point in time for that,
for the back.
there more than one building? Because that would be a separate meter.
Yes.
This is one
Yeah.
building, one meter.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
Right,
get
everything
that.
goes in, and then he's gonna be paying it, so it's one. So for him, he's saying, why do I need a lighting district just for me?
There is 6 to 7 buildings.
But it's all under common ownership.
I understand, there's 6 to 7 buildings back there.
But it's all common, it's all in one owner, so one building.
I check with Will on the green. See if Will has a preference one way or the other.
I would have-
I can't. I
Why
know
did the
the
planning
mission.
board, ask them to do that if it's just one ownership? So,
Other times on a development project, sort of one of that. Ask. Okay.
All right.
I'll check with the planning board. No problem.
no, I meant, and the manner they have to-
Okay,
My other thing is that.
all right, and then, nothing?
I have something.
Yep.
So, a couple months ago, we brought up the computer security policy.
Yes.
You haven't sent anything yet.
Actually, I did speak to Donnie, and I think we will have that email ready by the end.
So the end of this week, we're gonna have it. By next week, we'll have it. And what about the county policy? What are we doing?
Right now, my concern is we started looking at some policies, but right now, I'm looking at the order.
Why don't we bring in a consultant to help us with the policies, and that way we can do 2 things at once.
Well, I think I spoke to Chris this week about it.
Chris can't help us with
No,
that.
I know, to get exactly what policies we need. I was hoping you will help us do the policy, so we want to do it.
So
So
we've gone down that road before, and we had that conversation, so.
I didn't go down the road with you.
Well, we've gone down that
So,
road.
we
before, so we're not doing
we
this
don't,
with the
don't we
old-
have,
We adopted
we have documentation in the
No,
office?
we have not adopted any
So
policies in this.
you don't have documentation.
I got a
on
foil
policy?
back that said these policies don't exist. So we have to do,
Okay.
these are required.
And we have some ones, we need
adopt-
to do,
Yes.
and I have some inquiries out on some final policies that we can use. And yeah, that's where I'm at.
So my feeling is we should bring Darlene in or bring Justin in, and then they can help us. One of those guys can help us develop the policies that we need in town.
All for
I don't just yet, my concern on us trying to get this audit going.
We have the books closed.
Yes,
The books are closed.
I'm still,
So then can we get a trial balance then?
something was sent out this week, wasn't it?
I did not see a trial balance. Can we get a trial balance?
Get trouble on.
So, yeah, but that wasn't the book was closed. The trial balance of the books being closed, so we know what's being ordered.
It's creating a final bill. I do got said that I am starting the business procedure, payroll procedure, relation procedure, remote capture procedures, procedure for making balance account, AC check printing, expenditures, check run. There are some procedures.
No, yeah, those are procedures. What we need to do is create the policies. And what we need to do is we need to do a risk review
Why don't you
And
lift the hand?
we went through that. And I'm saying
I
that we
didn't
have
go
to,
through with you.
I understand you didn't. We went through this, so we're not gonna go through that again. So what we're gonna do is what we should do. We should either bring in Justin, if we bring in Denise, who can help us write the policy.
So I got a call after the meeting. When I spoke to her, she was out of town.
Okay.
And she's gonna call me back, with the town, so I guess I gotta call her back, because she should be back in town. That's something we're gonna speak about.
And then we have the
What
investment.
about the other departments that don't have written policy? What are you doing about that?
I asked about that, and we actually were working on that, and I told George about that in February, and I told him it was his job to continue the process that was started last year, which I had sat down with the building department and a bunch of other departments helping to create policies. And I don't know where that, in January, that sort of just all fell off. So
Oh, I did
we
tell-
can,
I did
we can
comment.
we can, you know, we can go down that road again. We do have the investment policy, which we're supposed to get cash flow, cash balances, and a list of potential investment opportunities. Is that, we did pass that, that is the one policy we do have. But that was supposed to be at the end of March, that we were supposed to get all that. So I don't know where that stands, but you can follow up and find out where that stands for us. So trial balance.
What about the
cash
little
flow,
policies that were voted on that we have Chris here? And
that was
you-
one policy.
That was multiple policies.
That was,
Four.
all right, so that was
was
payroll, so we did
multiple
payroll policy,
That.
and
that
we
was in
did,
there,
and we did,
And
and
we combined a couple of them
so
together
here, let me
to
explain.
create multiple policies.
That was, you're talking about two policies that were mitigating policies, okay? And so we have the two payroll policies, and then we have the warrant approval policy. And again, I will go
Accounts
to,
payable policy.
and the accounts payable policy, but we still have a procurement policy that we need to do, right? And we still have, as I said, the risk assessment policy that we need to do. And again, a lot of these policies will dictate then the procedures that we do, as well as the segregation of duties and all those other things, who's responsible for what. Which
So
we don't
we do-
have,
we do-
so we can't create, what we did was, we created a policy in a vacuum. Okay,
Well, it wasn't in a vacuum because we had the auditor here.
it was a mitigating
Reviewing
policy.
the beginnings of whatever policies we have. Now, just out of curiosity, you just said, and we created the warrant policy, right?
The warrant approval
The
policy,
warrant approval policy.
yes.
So we have that as a policy, but every time we bring up warrants, which is part of our major responsibility to pay bills and audit claims, you don't vote on it.
Because
But
we're
it
not
was a
doing it right.
policy that we.
Because we're not
put
doing it
in.
right. We're not doing it right.
Okay,
When we decide to start doing it right, then we can, then we can go through it, but we need all these other policies. We have no controls in place. We have no controls here. Internal controls are what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to set the policies for the town, for the internal controls. What controls do we have in place?
We do have internal
What?
controls. They're
Give them
limited.
to me.
They're
I
limited.
asked, I foiled
They're
them, and they're
limited.
none.
They're limited and it makes the department function. We can't.
No,
say
they're
that-
not.
we
Oh my
can't-
God, you don't
can't
limit
say-
controls.
No,
That's
no,
the
no.
most
I'm
ridiculous
not-
thing I've ever heard.
Neil, you misunderstand what I'm saying. We don't limit those controls. They're not as many as you would like. They're not as many as we
They're
should
not,
have,
they're
but
not.
they're there.
No, they're not.
So how has the department been running for so many years?
It
they've
hasn't
audited-
been running, though.
and
It
they've
hasn't.
audited for so
Hold
many
on, hold
years.
on. Okay, you want to go down that road? We can go down that road. How has it been running for years? We get an audit a year late. We were a year and a half behind on bank reconciliations and no one knew. Okay, our AUDs have been filed late every year. So
Once.
no, every year.
AUD
Every
was
year,
filed
because
once.
I've talked to the comptroller's office, and if you file it, you have to file an amended one. A year later, they consider that to be
So-
not on time because it's not complete,
So.
okay?
So
So,
we realize that things have been filed and late and the reports have not been put up to date. We own that and we're.
but do you
addressing that.
understand what internal controls
And
are?
it's been addressed where
Well, it
we acknowledge it and say, okay, the one thing we have to do is get up to date. And so we hired people, we put in, some policies and practices in there, and hopefully we're moving forward.
And what we do is we implement policies and procedures, right? So that way we become
Policies.
more,
Policy, we got procedure.
no, well, those will be changed, I'm assuming, as soon as we come up with the policies.
Maybe,
That
maybe
will,
not.
maybe, right, based on, we have a lot of policies to do. Okay, and we have to look at the internal control structure of the town. Okay, and we need to do it in a risk assessment way. We need to assess the risk. This is our main function of our job, and we haven't done it, as near as I can tell, in the past decade, if not
And
longer.
I understand. that,
Okay.
but I spoke to the controller's office. I signed up for the class back in first week in office. I listened to Dave has a crazy Italian last name, I can't pronounce it. I heard him, I got the recording. I saw Dave when I went up, to Geo, the government.
GFOA.
GSOA. I spoke to him and I asked, we have a controller. And it's always been to me, why can the controller pay the bills? He said it in the meeting that I saw, I got a copy of it. I spoke to him. So we agreed, you guys agreed back in October or whatever it was, September, that you have to see the warrants to pay the bills.
Yes,
He said that's not the way to do it.
that isn't the way to do it, and I've said that. I
Okay,
even
so
told
why
you
are
that
we
in
doing it?
February. I
Then
even
why
told you
are we
that in
doing
February.
this?
I told you it was a mitigating, do you guys understand what controls are? It's a mitigating control. Right?
So
A
why are we
mitigating
doing it?
control, mitigating,
Okay.
okay? In other words, we don't have the controls in place to ensure that everything's being done in a timely manner. So you implement mitigating controls. And if you looked at the book that I gave you about internal controls, and I can give it to you again, right? It talks about the fact that if you have a small department, okay, which we have, right? And we don't have proper segregation of duties, which we don't, because our auditors told us that, then you have to implement mitigating controls. Now, if we do the risk assessment review and we do the policies, as I'm saying we do it, I guarantee you, at the end of the day, if you're approving the purchases, which I've been telling you you need to do, and you said that you were waiting to get trained.
And I got it, and I've been doing it every morning I come in, I look over, and I get an email, I don't do it quick enough, Sarah sends me an email. You look at
Okay,
them?
all right,
So
good,
it's been done.
good. So we're getting
So,
there.
but that's
We're
what I'm
getting
trying
there.
to say. We
So
are getting there.
We're
We are
getting
trying
there.
to
So
move
when,
there.
when we're up to speed and we have the policies in place that say all this, okay, then we can change those policies that we have in place, mitigating controls, because then we'll have the right controls in place. Okay? The auditors even told me, they said, you need a mitigating control because you don't have the necessary controls in place. You can't just look at
But
this
if
and
they told
what
you
you're
this-
doing is you're looking at everything in a vacuum. You're saying this one control, that one control. You have to look at everything as a whole. You have to do your risk assessment review of the entire controls of what's happening in town. Who has access to money? Who has custody of money? Who can pay bills? Who can write checks? Who can do all these things? Okay? What's the flow of information?
And I guess I've been doing that indirectly. Because I've been asking questions.
You've been
Number
asking, I understand you're asking questions.
And I've been looking at things, but my thing here is, I know we gotta get these policies. We all sat here and talked about accountabilities. And we said there was 4 or 5 policies we have to look at, and we're gonna get to it. Right now, my concern is getting the daughter, do it right, and then work on these policies. That's the way I look at it.
I just, listen, I've been here for 6 years. I've been going through this. And what I'm saying is let's bring somebody in to help us do it. That way we know it's getting done because we know it's gonna take time to do. This isn't something that's you're gonna write a policy and it's gonna be done overnight. It takes months to implement the policy, and then you have to review and test the policy, right? To ensure that the policy is actually working and being done correctly. Okay, so there's a process to this that takes anywhere from 6 to 12 months. The auditors outline how long it takes to do. So my feeling is all I keep hearing is wait.
No, I'm not saying wait.
Let's hire somebody. Let's bring somebody
Supervisor
next
said he's
week.
gonna be speaking with Denise Winter.
Okay. So let's,
You tell your
I
list
know.
of people to call.
And I did go to the government financial officer on
right,
their website, and they have policy, they sample that we can look at. And I know, Will, you're still waiting on someone to
Yeah, I have
contact you.
someone from another town
So-
to provide it.
okay, so
Wait,
let's
wait,
move forward.
So let's, if you.
You
speak
talk to Denise and we'll talk about it next week.
Let's
And then
get,
if she wants to do it, and
Well, let's get
if
it.
the board agrees to it,
Okay,
If you speak to Denise this week, get a commitment one way or the other. If you can do it, get a commitment as far as
because she can help us with probably with both. I'm assuming, listen, the way I look at it is if we implement the policies correctly and then we put in place the proper procedures, there'll be less work for the county to do, right? Or controller to do, and more work will be delegated. Right?
You're gonna talk to
Oh,
them.
I am. I will.
Which is what we all want.
I will reach, because like I said, she was supposed to call me back when she got back in town. So I'll reach out.
She's pretty responsive.
No, she is. She uses it. Anything else? Okay, we're up.
Resolution of Town Board of Town Hall authorizing the transfer of funds. Hereby resolved, the Town Board hereby authorizes and directs the Town Comptroller to transfer funds up to the 2021 town budget as follows. And there are
I got
many transfers that can be viewed on the website. And the transfers are the Indigo Bulk Management Company financial records. They are reported by manual journal entries to the town of the financial records on a monthly basis. This entry above is needed to adjust the town's budget with the general ledger accounts used by Indigo Bulk. The process has been streamlined in 2022. And then we move to the enterprise fund from ER 5990 enterprise fund balance $48,414 to ER 1990.40 contractual $48,414 to transfer funds to cover the overall shortage in the enterprise fund expenditure budget at year end. General fund from A391 general fund due from other funds $48,414 to A200 general fund cash $48,414 from ER 200 enterprise fund cash $48,414 to ER 630 enterprise fund due to other funds $48,414. This entry represents a loan from the general fund to the enterprise fund to cover the final expenses for 2021. The amount due to the general fund from the enterprise fund as of December 31st, 2021 is now $834,914. Resolution.
So,
Discussion. Are we gonna get financials for the golf course for year end at some point in time?
it's funny you said that. Today, I did send an email in regards to that,
You do?
because, yeah. I requested, I sent, no, I sent it to Patrick
Oh, okay.
in regards to a couple of things. In regards to the email that Will has sent him regarding the 4 events you did last year off the premise. We need some information on that. On top of that, I requested the monthly funds, the monthly report that's supposed to be given to the town board.
Yes.
I sent all that today and I CC. My bad, I should have
Yeah.
CC.
But you know what? But they,
That's what I'm saying.
I guess so.
but here's the thing is that they have a contract with us. They know what the terms are and they've been delinquent in delivering those statements. And so, you know, we really need to tell them that, and here they are, they're asking us for our liquor license and they're not even giving us reports to any financials that happen in there. And they have a contract that says they have to deliver them.
Well, the thing is that I see here is that we have another $48,000 that's being moved, right, to cover the shortfall in the enterprise fund. I keep hearing that we're making money in the enterprise fund, but I'm seeing no financials, but we're continuing to push money over there. So the idea is some of this money needs to be written off. We need to do that sooner rather than later. And I'm assuming that we're probably gonna have to do it for the 2021 audit. So
And we need to know what.
right, and we need to know that amount is to do that.
Right.
But, you know, we need the financial, we need something over here.
Did they respond to your email?
I
By the way,
sent
you
it
did
to-
not. But
I'll
whatever,
check. I'm pretty sure I did, but maybe.
did they get back to you and say, yeah,
I
we're
haven't-
sending
I
stuff
have,
over?
I was sent out today.
Okay.
I haven't checked it.
Okay.
So if they don't respond today, I will actually give them a call. And I've been up there, I've seen Corey. So, you know, I want to make sure, you know, we're supposed to be getting monthly reports on what's going on. And when she showed me this, and I'm like,
And the year end also.
we're making money, we're not making money. That's what I keep hearing. I sat down here with them.
Did they give Tony the year end?
I believe they did give all the paperwork, this is how we got this. I believe that.
I do believe that there are some expenses on our side that they're not accounting for, and I believe that, so that I know plays
Well, I
a
know
role
that-
in it,
Right,
but
we agreed to those repairs and
Right.
yeah, there's certain things, so.
But at the
Who
end of
would
the
have
day,
those
we're either,
details?
right, we either are making money off the golf course or we're not making money off the golf course. We need to figure out which it is.
But we keep hearing statements that we are making.
But
So
he did
if-
tell
if
me,
it's true, then we need to see it on paper
we,
and in the book.
they had 110 parties already booked when I met with them. I know for a fact they already had one party booked off premise. And I said, that's not happening. Because I'm not signing off on this. Do you have the agreement? You know that we signed off on this, or the contract we did with Indigo 4 or 5 years ago?
I don't know if I have it. you know,
It's here
in my hand,
somewhere.
But we can probably find it.
Yeah, it's in the
It's in the
file.
system.
The reason I want to be able to say to them, listen,
Was it
This
one
is-
year ago?
No, it's Billy
It
Casper.
was Billy Casper, then they took over, but there was an amendment, there was a Billy Casper agreement, there was an amendment to the Billy Casper agreement. I can't remember if it was
It was when the
in
fountains left,
20,
2020.
yeah, I think it was in 20.
Yeah, it was in 20. Because we had to do an amendment for the caterer.
Right, because
And the
first they
golf
were
cart.
doing the golf, now they're doing it.
Right.
We have this resolution, which we have a second.
second.
Mr. Coyne? Mr. Valentin?
Yeah.
Mr. Moore? Mr. Johnson? Is he listening?
Oh, he's there. Oh, no, that's. Yeah, oh, oh.
He's gone.
He's gone.
Supervisor Serrano?
Yes. Good. Well, with that, I'll make a motion to go into executive to discuss some personnel
And pending.
and pending litigation.
You are not?
Okay, thank you for coming. We're now gonna come back.
Yeah.
We're going to executive. Thank you.